Hello everyone. So today I'm going to show you how to fill out form I-485 for EB2-NIW. Before I begin, I thought to mention a few points. So the way I would fill this application, that would benefit some group of applicants, especially who are, as I mentioned already, who are filing EB2-NIW as the principal applicant, as well as I would specify what to write or which options to select for spouse or children if they are derivative applicant. Also, some people are on J1 or J2 visas in the US, so I would show you how to choose options for those categories as well. Also, some people might have multiple non-US citizenships, meaning you might already have citizenship from multiple other countries. So you have to mention everything in this form. So how to mention it, I'm going to show you as well. And of course, there are some people from some countries that doesn't require any visas to enter in the US. You can just have some employment authorization, and you can enter the US using your country passport without requiring any US visa. So of course, we will see how to fill out those specific options as well. Anyway, so going to the form downloading option, so you have to download the form I-485. So just in the Google search bars, type form I-485. The first link would appear, and that's the link you to click, and then you click on the form I-485, and also you download the instructions for form I-485. Both are important, and you also have to keep um, an eye on the current version of the form, because I know many people usually starts filling out the form. On the way they might encounter some problems which might delay their application submission, and by the time there might be new edition of the form appearing, which many applicants may miss. So I would recommend everyone, before you actually send those applications to the USCIS, before you even go to the USPS or like the couriers to send your application package, check the edition number on that day. If this number matches to your application's version that actually appear on the form's bottom left, then you are good. So these edition number must match to the latest edition of the form that is given in the website. Anyway, so I am going to show you how to fill out this form. Many options are pretty straightforward. You don't require any instruction, but for the sake of filling out the form, I'm starting from the beginning. So the first part is for USCIS only. We are not going to touch anything here. You start from here. And you start with your A number, that is alien number. Those who are applying for EB2-NIW, I am presuming that we already have your I-485 application approved. If you are not filing concurrently, then you may not have your A number. So in that case, you can keep it blank. But in many cases, you already have your I-140 approved. So the I-140 sample approval looks like this. I am sorry for the resolution, and it's just an online thing, so usually it looks like this. Is a sample, and your A number appears in the third row rightmost box before like the beneficiary's name. So it is a 10-digit numbers. I don't know if I can make it bigger, but it will scramble. So these are 10-digit numbers. It starts with an A. That's the number we need to put into that box. So for the sake of filling out this form, I'm taking these numbers, just sample 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So I am filling 1 2 3 4 5 6 789 as appeared there. Next, your name. So say your name is John Doe or Jane Doe. So okay, so I prefer I prefer using like capital letters, that looks clearer. So I would use, but there is no strict restriction that you have to use either capital or small or mixed. I prefer using capital letters, so I'm using capital here as well. So you might be John Doe. If you have a middle name, you put it here, otherwise keep it blank. Then the second option is your older names you have used since birth, if applicable. So if you have used any other names that actually you used or maybe appearing in other official documents, you have to mention it here. So whatever you want to mention it here. If you don't have any other names to mention, I would recommend you can keep it blank as well, but I would recommend using not applicable, so N/A. But the problem is the form won't allow you to write a slash. So what I would do, or I did before, is like I write N space A in both family name and given name. So that would allow me to put manually a slash when I actually print out the form. So you can actually modify your forms using a ballpoint pen if you need to put any letter or markers later. So when I print the form, I would put a slash here. And then it's your date of birth, so it's month, date, year. So you say I put month, then say I am choosing randomly, and then say 1990. And then the question, have you ever used any other date of birth? Usually no, but I don't know, maybe in many cases people might have other birth dates as well. If so, you choose yes and put your other birth dates here. And then I would recommend you to go back to this is page 1, part 1 and number 3 that we are filling. So if you have multiple birth dates, then I would recommend you to go back to part 14, which is the explanation part. If there is anything unusual happening in the form or you are putting in the form, you have to explain why is the case. So it was page number 1, part number 1, item number 3, and then you will explain, say explanation of having more than one birth date, and then you explain what was the reason. Okay, and then of course you always frequently save the document on the way. Sometimes if there's a lot of information so you have to put, it's the time consuming things. So if somehow your laptop or computer goes off because of the lack of battery, or like there's an load shedding or something, at least you won't lose informations that you have already filled out. Anyway, so I said like there is no any other date of birth, no, so I keep it as it is, blank. Next, do you have an alien registration number, which is like a number again? So I already put this number here, so you have to choose it yes, and you have to put the same number again, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. You have different numbers. I'm just taking these numbers from the sample, remember. And then there's another question, have you ever used or been assigned any other A number? In most of the cases it would be no, but it might be the case for you that you have been involved in many immigration processes in the US. So maybe there are more than one A or alien registration number assigned to you, so you have to double check all your previous immigration related documents. If you have more than one A registration numbers, you select yes, and then you write those old A numbers. But for this one, use the most recent A number if you have more than one. Okay, then your sex, for that, since I choose John Doe, I would put, I'm assuming John Doe is a male, so it's male. And then the place of birth, it's the place of birth where you actually born. So say you born in Paris, France. So the city would be Paris and the country would be France. And the country of citizenship or nationality. Now, here's the tricky part. You born in France, so you already have a by birth citizenship of France. But then somehow, maybe like you migrated to another country before and you have acquired another citizenship. Maybe you are a Canadian now and you are carrying the Canadian passport. So you have to select the citizenship uh, according to the most recent entry into the US. So say you entered into the US with your Canadian passport most recently, not with the French passport. So since you last time used Canadian passport, you have to use country of citizenship being Canada. But remember, you have born in France, and if you haven't abandoned your French citizenship, you have to declare this as well in part 14. So this is page 2, option sorry, page 2, part 1, option 8. So we go back to the option 2, and then I use page 2, part 1, option 8, and then you have to declare additional citizenship, and you have to mention France because you already mentioned Canada, which is your most recent passport you are using. Okay, now coming back to here. Okay, if you don't have any other citizenship other than only one where you born, then this it's pretty straightforward. You don't have to declare anything in part 14. You can just say I born in Paris, country of citizen France, my country of citizenship is France. That's it. But for the sake of this form, I would say Canada. Okay. And then USCIS online account number. You may have, you may not have. If you have previously used, say for example, you applied for EAD, or maybe your spouse or your children might have applied for EAD, they usually should have an associated online account number, and it would appear in their respective I-797 notice of action. Say you or your wife or your spouse um, or your children previously applied for EAD, and then they have a notice of approval. So on that form you will see somewhere USCIS online account number is written. So you use that online account number here. If you don't have any account number, that's fine, keep it blank. Now the recent immigration history. So if you last entered the United States using a passport or travel document, provide the following information. That's the very last entry, the most recent entry you have. So the passport or travel document number. So I say you have a passport number, open up your passport book and write, say I just fill out with XXX. Okay. So expiration of this passport or travel document. There is a date of expiry in your passport. So write it down. Maybe it is something like I'm just making things up. So it's something like this. Country that issued this passport or travel document. Remember, I used the country of citizenship being Canada, assuming that, not assuming, I used my Canadian passport to enter in the US last time, so I have to write it down, country that is Canada. If you don't have Canadian citizenship or any other country citizenship, but only one country, which is in case say France, you just write France here. Then non-immigrant visa number. Here the case, your visa, last time you entered with a visa, that should have a number there. You just write down that number here. But in many cases, for example in Canadians, in many categories of visas or the travel or like the work authorizations, Canadian can enter into the US without requiring a visa. So in that case, they may not have any visa number. Actually, there is no visa stamped on their passport. They just show the passport, they can enter in the US. So keep it blank, or not blank, just write not applicable. And then date non-immigrant visa was used. If you have a visa, write that name. the visa stamp would mention that the issuance date. If you don't have any visa, just again it won't allow me to write anything other than number. So when you print out this form, you just like write not applicable. So let me I'm just maybe like I'm preparing, so I would write not applicable here. I would just write not applicable here. Anyway, and then place and date of last arrival into the United States. So where you have entered last time. So maybe like you arrived in the New York. So you say city or town, you say New York, or the city you entered New York, and then the state obviously New York, NY. And then your last arrival. Say I'm just making things up again. Maybe this is it is in this year's January, so maybe like 15, then 2025. So when I last arrived in the United States, in most of the cases, I was inspected at a port of entry and admitted as an exchange visitor, temporary worker, student. If you are a student, write student. If you are a temporary worker, write that. For J1 or J2, for J1, they would write exchange visitor. Exchange visitor. If you are filling out, or if your spouse who is on J2 visa filling out this form, or you are filling out this form for your children, they would be exchange visitor dependent, J2. So that option would be like this. They would write I'm just writing it there, exchange visitor dependent. There was something right here, external visitor dependent. Yeah. So I'm just showing you what to write. So usually you would write here exchange visitor depend, and then you would see it won't allow you to write anything further. So you cannot fill out dependent here, so you keep it as it is. And when you print out the form, you just use a black ballpoint pen to fill the rest. You just write P, after the P you write END. That's fine. Exchange visitor dependent, because it's not allowing any letters further. And this is for like just let me so this is for spouse or children. They would write exchange visitor dependent. Otherwise, in your case, if you are on J1 visa, it's exchange visitor is fine. If you have any other options, just choose accordingly. Now, if you were issued a form I-94 arrival departure record, obviously you would be issued. So you just have to fill out this. So your last name, as we already did so the person's name was John Doe, and this record number. So usually you have, let's see if yeah, so typically it would be something like this. So there would be a number here, record number. You have to write that. You have to write that record number here. So I'm just making things up here. So it's like say 1 2 3 4 6 6 7 8 0, something like that. I'm just making things up. And then expiration date of authorized stay shown on form I-94. Usually there might be some date, but in many cases it would be admit until date, which is D by S, duration of status. So duration of status, in case you just write DS. Immigration status on form I-94, class of admission, if also that would be like class of admission J1. If you are on J1, you write J1, but again the form won't allow you to write any number here. So for your spouse or children it would be J2, for you it would be J1. So keep J as here, and then when you print out the form you write a 1 or 2 by the side. Maybe like I put a note here, write like J1 or J2. Just fill out here. Was your last arrival the first time you were physically present in the US? So if that's the first entry into the US in your life, you choose yes. But if you have entered and left US many times before, so your last entry was not the first entry into the US, you select no. What is your current immigration status if it has changed since your last arrival? Say you entered on J1, but then you or your employer actually changed it to H1B or some other visas. You have to mention it if it's changed. If not, you just write not applicable, because say only in the case it's unchanged, like you entered as J1 and you are still on J1, so then write non-applicable. And then expiration date of current immigration status, it's the same thing. In your I-94 it says DS, duration of status, you write D/S. Yeah. Have you ever been issued an alien crewman? So crewman visa, like I guess this is for like the flight crews or ship crews. You select no. If you are, then of course you choose yes, but in most of the cases it would be no. Number 17, did you last arrive in the US United States to join a vessel as a seaman or crewman, or while serving in any capacity aboard a vessel or aircraft? Uh, in most of the cases it would be no, other than if you are really a seaman or crewman. Now your current US physical address, you write your if you are the principal applicant, I would just leave this blank. I would just write the street number, say 1 2 3 4, and then like the road number, say Washington Street or something, Washington Street, whatever. I'm just making things up. And then say you are living some apartment or floor, you just choose apartment, and then you choose your apartment number, say might be, I'm just making things up, 201. And then you select your city, say you live in somewhere like say you live in Queens, and then it's obviously it's like NY. NY, and then write your zip code. I'm not sure what's the zip code structure in Queens, so I'm just I'm just making things up. Yeah. Okay. So date you first resided at this address. So you have to mention when you first resided this address. Okay. Another thing. So if it's this form is for your spouse, and most importantly if it's for your children, then I would recommend writing your name here, because they are in care of you, because maybe like the apartment is on lease on your name, or maybe like yeah, so you just write your name here, John Doe. Otherwise if it's your application, I would keep it blank. Okay, so now say you first resided in this address, say you are living in this address since maybe last year May, well, so I would say 05 01 2024. is this current mailing address? If this is the address where you would receive your mail, it's very important because most of the USCIS communicative letters would be sent to this address. So if it's the mailing address, you select yes, then you have to, you don't need to fill out this form. But if you feel that it's not a good good mailing address and you might be missing emails, then select something else and then put a more secure address here where you would be able to receive all the email, all the mail communications. But in case this is, in most of the cases, this would be your mailing address, so you don't have, if you select yes, you don't have to put anything here, you just keep it blank. Now it's important, have you resided at your current address for last 5 years? If yes, then you are out of the hook, you don't have to write anything here. But in most of the cases, you would be like, you would have maybe like you have changed your addresses in the last 5 years. And how would you calculate your last 5 years? Say you are going to submit this form roughly at the end of this, so this is November 2025, so you just calculate it this way. So say you calculate this way, so this year you are submitting this form by the end of this month, which is the November 2025. So November, just a second. So November 2024 would be your last 1 year. November 2023 would be your last 2 years. November 2022 would be your last 3 years. November 2021 would be the last 4 years, and November 2020 would be your last 5 years. So you have to remember, when you fill out this form, have you resided at your current address for at least 5 years? You have to be very cautious. If you have been living in this address since November 2020, then you can select yes, that you have you resided at your current address for last 5 years? Yes, if you are living in this address since November 2020. But if not, then you must say no. Sorry. Then you must say no, and then you have to write your prior address. Say we calculated this, so we have to make sure that we include all our previous addresses since November 2020. So say your previous address was somewhere, if you are writing for your spouse and children, you write your name as a care of maybe, or maybe like some other guardian who would be the person to contact. Then your addresses, say I'm just making things up, say this is like another address, say Billy Street or something, and then it was like nothing of it, maybe a house, so, or maybe a floor, so you just say second floor. And maybe like town is like maybe like you are living in Boston, and then that would be obviously the state of Massachusetts. And then that zip code would be, I guess, 0211 something, 115 something, yeah. And then that's US. So, and then there will be a date from when to when you have lived there. So you have to make sure that there is no gap between among the last 5 years addresses. So you started living here since May 1st 2024. So, and you have to go sequentially back. So obviously you have to be in this address until April 2024, which is like 04/30/2024. And then maybe you started living here for, like, you may have lived here for 2 years. So maybe like something around, I would say 01, and then like say it's like 2021. See, still we haven't covered the whole 5 years. We are still in 2021, but now I don't have any space left here. So it says use space provided in additional information part 14. So I have to make sure that my covered since 01/01/2021, I have to mention other addresses there. So I'm going back to, so this is like which page? This is like page 4, part 1, and then number 18, page 4, part 1. See, it's not page 3, I'm on page 4. So, but the part 1 and the number is given in the previous page. So I would use page 4, part 1, number 18. So I'm going to part 14. I am writing here page 4, part 1, number 18. Now I am writing previous address. I have given one previous address, so this will be previous address 2, and then I write down my previous address. Say I'm just making things up, say 456 456 Malden Street, say apartment, say 204. Then maybe this is a city in Boston, maybe Malden, Massachusetts. I don't know their zip code structure. I'm just making things up, 02145 or something. And then you have to mention how long you have lived there. So I go here. So okay, so I have to take the structure from here. What are the informations I have filled out here? I have to repeat the same information there. So that was the information structure. Where is the thing? Page 4, yeah. So street, city, state, zip code, and the country. Okay, I missed country. And then form 2. So I missed country, so that would be USA. And then form. So obviously I would write this was to make sure that there is no mix up. So month, that would be month, day, year. So I'm just to explain something, I'm going to like use a different format. So say it still, this address also didn't cover my full 5 years. I'm deliberately doing it. So say it should be since November 2020. So this is like I mentioned here the last date covered until it's 1/1/2021. So I have to go, I have a few months left to cover November until November till November 2020. So I'm deliberately doing so just to explain things. So it is 1/1/2021. Say I lived at this address for only 1 month. I'm deliberately doing it. So I lived here 12/1/2022 from and to, and also I am like doing the same pattern here. I'm just so that would be, say I lived there from to 31st 2020. So still I haven't covered from November, so I have 1 month left. Maybe I used this address just for a temporary stay, maybe because I was out of US before that. I just moved to the US on this day, so I was living somewhere else in the world. So I have to make sure that I have space left here. So maybe like I can use this leftover addresses here. So I would write again here previous address 3. Now say I moved from Canada. So now I write my Canadian address. Say I was in Vancouver. So I write down the name 4536 Main Street, and then say my apartment number was, say, just making things up, 11, say I was in Vancouver, British Columbia. My zip code was something like their zip code is like British style V5X 3W4, just making things up, British Columbia, and then I write Canada. Oh, I don't have any address. Okay. Okay, no worries. We can use the same for 118. I just take all thing here and then I write it here so that I have a space left. Um, uh, then I lived in Canada. Okay, now I lived there, maybe like I lived there for 4 years. So maybe like I lived there from 01 20 16, maybe 2016 to I entered in the US on 12/1/2020. So maybe I lived there until 11/30/2020. So at the very the next day I moved to the US, so I didn't leave any gap. And also I would recommend, because we need to fill out something here. Why I am making things here complex? Just to explain things. So most recent address outside the US, the immediately next step to fill out. Since our 5 years of time haven't covered yet, but like in the US we haven't lived for 5 years, and our last 5 years actually enters into a timeline when I was outside of the US. So, and I have to make sure that I write it in these 5 years, in this option. Even if I wasn't in the US, I was in another country, but since it's asking for last 5 years, I have to mention my last 5 years address under these option. So that's why I mention it here, that I lived here from 2016 to 2030. So I would mention here most recent address outside the USA. So that actually serves two purposes here. I just save it so that I don't lose information. So that actually serves two purposes. So now I have covered last 5 years address, and in doing so I actually had to mention my most recent address outside the US, which is this one. I had to write it here, but since it says provide your most recent physical address outside the United States where you lived for more than 1 year, if not already listed above, meaning I already listed above, so that now doesn't like apply to me. So I can just mention here, instead of writing the same address again, because it gives me an option, if not already listed above. I have to fulfill the 5 years address here, and since it already included my most recent physical address outside the United States, I can just mention here listed above in part 14. That's it. I don't have to write those outside address again here. But if somehow like you already covered you have been in the US for more than 5 years, so you already listed only your US addresses, then of course you have to mention your most recent outside address where you lived for more than 1 year. So I'm just making a note here. I'm saying if you have been living in the USA for more than 5 years, you have to fill out below. Because your most recent 5 years address in the US won't cover your outside address, so definitely you have to fill out this here, the most recent address here. But in this case, with the example I have shown, I haven't been in the US for more than 5 years, so some part of the past address falls outside the US, and I have already mentioned in part 14 on about that. I don't have to like state again here. I just said listed above in part 14. That's it. It's good. Now, social security card. Has the Social Security Administration ever officially issued a social security card to you? In most of the cases, yes. You have been working here and you have a social security card. So once you have a social, you just have to write your, I'm just making things up, so I'm just randomly choosing some numbers here. Now it says, do you want Social Security Administration to issue you a social security card? Obviously the first question comes to your mind that, okay, I already have a social security card, why do I need another one? You can of course choose option no, but I would suggest in most of the cases, if you are on J1 or J2 or any other visas, your social security card would look like this. There is some notation, or there are some remarks that says valid for work only with DHS, Department of Homeland Security authorization. That specific thing appears on your social security card. You can double check with your current card. So usually who are green card holder or citizens, they don't have these remarks here. This is clean. So I would select, if this is the case for me, I would select do you want SSA to issue a social security card? Yes, because once I am approved of my green card, they would send me a clear social security card, not like with one remark here. And then of course if I select yes, I have to answer yes to consent for disclosure, so I select yes here as well. Okay, moving on. Application type or filing category. Are you filing for adjustment of status with the Executive Office for Immigration Review while in removal, exclusion, rescission or deportation proceedings? In most of the cases, no. But if you are a specific case like this, yeah, you can of course select one, select yes. But in most of the cases, it would be no. Now, this is the part that have to fill out from your I-140 approval. So receipt number of underlying petition. Remember, we had shown you a sample here. That's the I-140 immigration petition for alien worker approval. So here, I apologize. The resolution is not good. So receipt number of underlying petition. The receipt number is the very first, the number that comes with 3-digit letters, SRC 12345678990. That's the receipt number here. So look at your form, notice of action, and use this number to fill out this receipt number. I'm just taking from that sample. It's SRC 12345678990. And then priority date from underlying petition. It's also given here in the second row middle column. Priority date, it is 04/11/2017. So the priority date, look at your notice of action and mention it from there. So in this case it is 04/11/2017. It is 04/11/2017. And this is important. So if you are the principal applicant, you just select this and leave this part blank. Leave this part blank. You don't have to fill out this part. But if you are not the principal applicant, say your wife is filling out, your spouse is, I apologize again, it's not, I should say spouse, your husband might be applying as a derivative applicant. So if the spouse is applying, so in that case they have to select derivative applicant, and then that person, or even like the children applying on this form, they have to select derivative applicant, and then you have to mention the principal applicant's name. In this case, say this person, so say this person is John Doe, and he is a derivative applicant of his wife, maybe Jane Doe her name. So now he has to mention her name here. So her name is, family name is Doe, her name is Jane, she is the principal applicant, maybe doesn't have any middle name, and you have to find her A number from her immigration document. I'm just making things up. And then that principal applicant's date of birth, I'm making things like say 0912. I'm just making things, but say you are principal applicant, so you'll have to keep these blank. I'm just removing everything again. Say you are the principal applicant, so you select principal applicant and you keep this blank. This is for derivative applicants only. Now this is important. I am applying based on the following category. There's a lot of categories. You must select only one category. If you are filing as a derivative, this is also important. If you are filing as a derivative applicant, select the appropriate box based on the category under which the principal applicant is applying or has applied. So this is important. Meaning, if you select something here as a principal applicant, even though your wife doesn't have any I-140 approved because she is, or sorry, again, your spouse doesn't have any I-140 approved, your spouse or and children is applying under the principal applicant, they have to select the same option as the principal applicant is selecting. So say you are on J1 visa and you have I-140 approved, like you are applying in EB2-NIW. So this is for family-based immigration application, leave it. Now here comes the employment-based application, and you have a national interest waiver petition approved, EB2-NIW. So you select an alien applying for national interest waiver who is member of professionals holding an advanced degree or an alien of exceptional ability. And then you select not applicable, the second one, because it is asking whether a relative actually filed this for you. Yeah, so it's saying, did a relative file the associated form I-140 for you or for the principal applicant if you are a derivative applicant, or does a relative have a significant ownership interest in the business that filed form I-140? So basically it doesn't apply to you if you are applying for an EB2-NIW as a principal applicant, or your spouse and children if they are applying as a derivative applicant under you. So in both the cases, for principal applicant as well as the derivative applicant applying under EB2-NIW, they select this option and not applicable option. So I'm just putting a note here. So this option applies to both principal applicant and all derivative applicants. Yeah, in most of the cases. And then these are special immigrants, keep it blank, asylum, asylee or refugee, blank, blank, blank. I'm not gonna touch it. Okay, so next, if you selected a family-based, employment-based, special immigrant or diversity visa immigrant category listed above as the basis for your application for adjustment of status, are you applying for an adjustment based on INA 245I? This is a specific thing. In most of the cases wouldn't apply to us. So its eligibility is like those person who are beneficiary of a qualified immigrant petition. Form I-130 or I-140 or application for labor certification filed on or before April 30, 2001. So that's a long time ago. In most of the cases, it won't apply to you. So we have to select no. Are you 21 years of age or older and applying for adjustment based on classification as a child under the provision of Child Status Protection Act? In most of the cases, no. If your spouse are applying or your minor children who are not 21, it won't apply to you. Select no. Now, request for exemption of intending immigrants affidavit of support. So in many categories like family based application, you need to show affidavit of support, meaning you have money to support financial solvency to support the person you are applying for, or the person applying has financial solvency. That's why they have to show that they have like savings or something. In EB2-NIW, it doesn't apply to you, so you have to select none of these exemptions apply to me, and I am not required by statute to submit an affidavit of support under section 213A of INA, nor I am required to request an exemption. Okay, have you ever applied for an immigrant visa to obtain permanent resident status at a US embassy or US consulate abroad? So if you have applied for green card before from outside the US in an US embassy or US consulate, you have to select yes. But in most of the cases, if you are in the US and you have never applied for immigrant visa is like, I am assuming it's the green card application, because H1B or J1, J2, they are non-immigrant visa. So in case you say no. And if you really applied for such visas, then you have to mention where did you apply. And the decision, your visa application might be refused, so you have to mention that date as well. If approved, you have to mention that date as well. Have you previously applied for permanent residence while in the United States? Maybe you have applied for Form I-485 before, it was rejected or something, you have to select accordingly. If yes, if you already applied before and got rejected, you have to select yes. But in most of the cases, I am assuming this is the first time you are applying, then it doesn't apply to you, you select no. Have you ever held lawful permanent resident status which was later rescinded under INA section 246? In most of the cases, if that didn't happen to you, select no. Okay, employment and education history. So this is also important. Provide all of your employment and educational history for the last 5 years as indicated in the instructions. So it has to be, again, we have to calculate the same 5 years thing. This file, I'm just copying this thing. Say we have to go up to November 2020 if we are submitting this form by the end of this month. Okay, so now and also include periods of self-employment, unemployment and retirement. So you have to mention this as well. This is important, most important, this is for each period of unemployment or retirement, list source of financial support. Meaning, if you are unemployed for a period of time, or you are now retired, you have to mention how you are managing your finance, how you are supporting yourself. So it could be like, maybe you are unemployed but your spouse works, maybe your children actually helps you maintaining your livelihood. So whatever be the reason, if you are retired, you get pension, you have to mention this. So other than unemployment or retirement, if you are a student, you don't have to mention anything. No financial, I guess this is fine. They only ask for either if you are unemployed or retired, only then you have to mention here the source of financial support, as I already mentioned here. either unemployed or retired, then only then you have to mention your financial support source. Other than this, if you are a student or other thing, you don't have to mention anything. So, okay, so now we have to again cover this full 5 years. So this is the employer or school, current or most recent. So say currently you are employed, so you are going to write your company's name here. I'm just making things up, XYZ company limited, say. Now you are not a student, so it would be employer. So you are mentioning that this is an employer, it's an employer, and this is the employer's name, and your occupation. Say you are a scientist, or maybe like you mentioned exactly the position you are currently working as. Say you are a post-doctoral research fellow. Say you just write it here. In that case, like maybe it's not a company, it's just a university. Say you write your name, say Columbia University, and this is an employer. An employer's name is Columbia University. Your occupation is postdoctoral research fellow. If you are unemployed, you just write unemployed in this box. Okay, then the address of the employer. So I don't know exactly the Columbia University's address. I'm making things up. 123 XX Street, and then city would be New York. State would be NY. And I also don't know the zip code. Maybe like it's something, I'm not sure, just making things up. Okay, now dates of employment. So when you started working here, maybe like you started working here 3 years back, so this is 2025. Say you started working in May 2022, sorry 2022, and still you are working, so you don't know when you are going to end these. Maybe you don't know, you are still continuing to work, so keep this blank, and when you print it, after printing it, you just write with pen present. It's like just write it present here. After you print it, you just write present. You just write present. Okay, and then if you are unemployed, then if you are unemployed, then maybe like your spouse was working, you were unemployed. Say you just write unemployed source of say support by the spouse or something like that. Okay, and now again, provide most recent employer or school outside. See, we haven't covered the full 5 years here, which we supposed to do, but then we just went until May 2022. So again, we have to go back to part 14. So it is like page 9, part 4, option is 7. So 947. So obviously you see we already filled out this form, we don't have any space left, so you can copy this last page as many as you want. So say you need to include like many additional information, so you can have this form repeated like say another 5 times if you need another 5 extra pages for this. So you just copy this page, like you just copy the whole, maybe like the application, and you keep you just keep filling out this last page. But remember, you have to write your A number here, your name here. in all of those additional part 14 pages. So for the sake of these demonstration, as if I already taken a new form, taken a new page, and I am filling out those extra pages. So I'm deleting here, but that doesn't mean that I'm not including this information. I'm assuming I'm like just consider that I taken an additional page here. I'm just showing you as an example. So say this is a new page. I already saved the last page. This is a new page I taken, and I've taken, and like I'm filling out this form. So I actually forgot the page number here. So that is that was page 9, part 4, 7, 947. So in the new page, page 9, part 4, item number 7, then I say employer, previous employer, previous employer. So I already mentioned my current employer. Now I am showing my previous employer 1, and say previously I was working for another university as a postdoc. So I started here in May 2022. So say I was a postdoc or research scientist in another university. Maybe like I mentioned that I came to the US when I came to the US in okay I came to US so I came to US. I mentioned in my, so this was 2021 January. So yeah, if you remember earlier, I mentioned in this form, in this page, that I entered in the US in December 1st 2020. So I have started working in the US in December 1st, say form, month, date, year. So I started here from December, because I said I entered in the US in December in 2020 to I said I worked here, so there shouldn't be any gap left in between my employment or student history. So this is like, this start from 5/1/2022. So maybe like I was working in another university from 5/1/2020. So that would be 4/30/2022, and I was employed by say New York University, and address, I am not actually sure what is the address, so fill out this address here, your previous employer's address, and then this is the date. So now see, it still didn't cover the full 5 years marks. So maybe I have to fill out these again, 947. So this would be the previous employer 2, previous employer 2, maybe I was, oh, let me make you a twist. Say you are a PhD student there. So previous employer, it's not an employer, it's a previous school. Now you came from Canada, and say you were a PhD student in, you were in Vancouver. Say you were a PhD student in Simon Fraser University. So your previous school was Simon Fraser University, and the address is like I don't know the exact address of Simon Fraser University, but then you were a doctoral student there, so I'm assuming it took you 4 years. So maybe like you graduated, you came to the US in 12/1, so maybe you graduated like say in the last month, so so maybe like 11:30. Oh, let me make you a twist here as well. So maybe like you graduated, I'm going another step back here. No, let's do it here. So you were there until 2020. It was maybe you started in September 1, 2016. You were a doctoral student from 16 to 20. So once you finished it, you moved to the US for your first postdoctoral. You have to also mention like your position name. Remember, we have a number of options to select. So you are a postdoctoral research fellow, and then you put your address this. And in Simon Fraser University, you are a doctoral student, so you have to mention your position here. So position is doctoral student. Yeah, I guess this is fine. We don't have to put any new information here because it asks you your employer's name, position, occupation's name, your address, which city. Yes, that's it, and from and to. Yeah, so we actually have filled out this form, which actually covered our full 5 years, starting some overlap with this doctoral studentship. And yes, so you save it, and now again here you see provide your most recent employer or school outside in the if not already listed above. So while we were listing above, just to complete the full 5 years term, we had to include our university which is most recent outside the United States. So we don't have to mention it again here. We can just write here like this: listed listed above in part. So it's not allowing me to write the 14 numbers, so just I'm just spell it out. So that's fine. And then this is the most recent outside, so maybe like we should mention it here as well. So previous school, maybe in bracket, most recent outside the USA. Yeah, so it's done. Okay, so we can leave this here. Information about your parents. So your parents' name, I am assuming like say, since your last name is Doe, your parents' last name is Doe as well, and given name say maybe like I'm just making things up, Patrick, Joe. Your parents' date of, if different than above, parent one's last name at birth, if different, if your parents, one of the parent or parents both have used different names at birth, you have to mention it here. Otherwise just write not applicable. As I mentioned, it don't allow me to write a slash. You keep a blank, and then when you print it out, you just put the slash here, and their date of birth. So I'm just making things up, could be like 02 13, maybe 1955. Again, country of birth, I said you born in France. I'm assuming he or she also born in France. Country of birth is France. And then your other parent, same thing, assuming last name same, and maybe it's your mother. I would say like Patricia, and then if anything other than the birthday name, so if not, I just say not applicable. I'm keeping a blank in between so that I can write it the slash when I print out, and say I'm using a similar birth date, making things up, say 04 05, say 1955, and then also I'm assuming she born in France. Okay, then per information about the marital history, if you are married and never or divorce, whatever be the option, you just choose accordingly. So your children who are minor, you select single, never married. If you are like, if it's you or your spouse, you select married. And then if you are married, is your spouse or current is your spouse a current member of the US Armed Forces or US Coast Guard? If your spouse is a member of the US Armed Forces or Coast Guard, select yes, otherwise no. If it's your children who are never married, you select not applicable. But if you or your spouse is filling this out, you select if they are member of the US Armed Forces or Coast Guard, select yes or no. Maybe like I select no. How many times have you been married? So you have to mention how many times you have married. So if this is the only marriage you have is your first and current marriage, you select one. If you have multiple marriages, you select the number, you write the number, and then information about your current marriage. So you have to mention your wife's name or your your spouse's name. So like your say you are John Doe, so say your wife's name is Jane Doe. Jane Doe, and then your spouse's A number. I'm just making things up. It might be like something just random. Current spouse's date of birth. Also making things up. Just mentioning something. And current spouse's country of birth. Maybe your spouse also born in France. Current spouse's current physical address. So if your spouse is living with you, you have to put the same address here. What address you have shown here? So it was something like where, yeah, so that's the current address we put here, 123 Washington Street, if your spouse is living with you. Otherwise you can put different address if she is not living with you, maybe like employed somewhere else. Current physical address, so I select apartment, I guess 222, and then it was New York, wasn't it New York? Oh, it's Queens, NY. Queens. If your spouse lives in a different address, write accordingly. Here, New York, zip code. I select something, I don't know the exact zip code pattern there. And then this is the country, USA. Well, so place of marriage to current spouse. So you have to mention where did you got married. Maybe like you were in Canada when you got married. So maybe like write the city, say Vancouver, and province it would be British Columbia. If it didn't apply to you, say maybe you are in another country that doesn't have a state or province, just write not applicable. Yeah, and then you have to mention the date. Maybe like you might got married like say in 2015, say so just making things up like 0320. Just is your current spouse applying me to now? If your spouse is applying as a derivative applicant with you in the same package, you select yes. If not, say no. You have to mention your marital information here. If your spouse is applying, you have to select yes. If your spouse is not applying, select no. Information about your prior marriages. So if you have married more than once, then you have to fill out these areas. Otherwise, you just, if you don't have any prior marriages here, just write not applicable. You just keep it blank and then write later. Yeah. Well, then yeah, these all are about previous marriages. Okay. Information about your children. So you have to mention how many children you have. Say you have 3 children. Say you have 3 children, and you have to write their names here. So I just putting characters here. If they have alien numbers in their immigration documents, write it. Otherwise, keep it blank. You just write their date of birth, making things up. And country of birth, maybe you are in Canada, so they're born in Canada. And what is your child's relationship to you? You have to, if it's your own child, not adopted or stepchild, you have to write biological child. And if that child is applying with you on a separate form I-485 as a derivative applicant for green change of status, select yes. Is your child also applying now on a separate? Yes. And child 2, maybe like you have another child born in Canada, write his or her alien number, and also like her date of birth. I'm making something up, say maybe like she or he born in 2020, and country of birth is Canada. And if it's your biological child, write biological child. And then if that person is also applying with you on another separate form I-485, you select yes. Now I mentioned I have 3 children. I have only space for 2 child's information. So what I have to do is, like, I have to mention another child information in part 14. It's mentioned here. Provide, if you have more than 2 children, use the space provided in part 14. So this is page 12. Page 12, part 7, option, I would go for option 3 because there is no option 4 left, so I would go for option 3. 12, 7, or maybe like I would choose option 1 because the instruction is under number 1. So I would select 12, 7, 1. And I have 1271, and I also have to mention what information need to be included. So family name, given name, a number, date of birth, country of birth, child's relationship, and then yeah. So okay, I forgot the things. It was page 1271. It is 1271. So I'm writing child 3. Say that person's child 3 last name is, say, I'm just making things, last name, and given name is B. And that another option was a number, so maybe that person doesn't have a number, so I don't have to mention it. Say there was an option for that person's date of birth, which is in this month, day, year. So I select I'm making a twist here. So you came to the US in December 2020, and this new child born, say, in 2022. So obviously that child is a US citizen. So maybe like that child born in like in May 15, 2022. So now the next question was citizenship. What is that or to be exact, the question was uh, country of birth. Country of birth. Let's see if I can copy these things. I don't think so. Country of birth, relationship to you, applying. Okay, country of birth. So, country of birth. That child may not born in the US if you moved to some other country during that child's birth period. But say here the child born in the USA. And the next question is relationship to you. Relationship to me is my biological child. And since that child born in the US, he is already an US citizen, he or she doesn't need to apply for change of status. So the question would be, is the child applying on a separate I-485? Answer is no. That's the thing need to fill out. Yeah, we are done with this child part. Yeah, obviously, like when you are when your spouse is filling out this part, it would look the same. But if your children are applying, since they are not never married, single, they don't have any children, so this would be 0, and this part leave it empty. Okay, now ethnicity, you select either you are Hispanic or Latino. Since I mentioned you born in France, obviously you're not an Hispanic or Latino. And you born in born in Europe, so obviously you are white. Your height might be, say you are pretty tall, so say you are 6 feet 6 feet 2 inch tall. Your weight might be like around 180 pounds. 180 pounds is in pound, remember, not in kilograms. Your eye color might be blue. Your hair color might be blonde. Yeah, choose the answers that you think is correct in part 9. Or if you answer yes to any question, or if you answer no but are unsure of your answer, provide an explanation of the event and circumstances in the space provided. So you have to, again, if you are not sure about anything, you have to answer no, but then you have to explain that this is the case for me. So have you ever been a member or involved in any way associated with any organization, association, fund, foundation, party, similar group in the United States or in any other location in the world? So in many cases, if you are applying through EB2-NIW, you might be a doctoral student, you had higher degree, you might be involved in any clubs in your previous colleges or university, or maybe professionally you are involved in many scientific societies. So you select yes, and then you fill out this part: organization 1, city, town, what's the nature of the organization, how you are involved, and from when to when you are a member of the party. So if you can like you can fill out like 2 here. If you are a member of more than 2 organizations, use part 14 to fill out this part. Say I was a member of this, you just select everything here, and then you select the date. Similarly here, if you are a member of this organization, from when to when, and which country, what was your involvement, something like this. Now, have you ever been denied admission into the United States? These are person specific questions. Read everything clearly and answer accordingly. If you answer anywhere yes, then explain. If you answered anywhere yes, please explain in part 14. If answered yes, then explain in part 14, any of these options. So say these doesn't apply to me, it could be the case that none of this applied to you. So just select, read it out, and then select no. And then this is important. So if you are on J1 and J2, have you ever been a J non-immigrant exchange visitor who was subject to 2-year foreign residency requirement? In many cases, it is called 212E. It's called 212E. That is actually pasted on your visa stamp as well. So it's sometimes referred to as 212E. 212E. So you have to be very careful. If you have 212E, you have to select yes. And then if you answered yes to number 19, have you complied with the foreign residence requirement? Meaning you were 212. Yeah, so you were subject to 212E, like 2-year home residence, foreign home residence requirement, and maybe you already went back to your country, served your country for 2 years. Then obviously if you answered yes, and have you complied with your foreign residence requirement, if you can prove that you went back to home and served for 2 years, you select yes. But in many cases you get like a waiver of these requirement from the Department of Homeland Security. So then you select no. If you haven't gone back to your country and served for 2 years, you select no. But then the next question is, if you answer yes to 19 and no to number 20, which is the case here, have you been granted a waiver or has Department of State issued you a favorable waiver recommendation letter for you? If you have granted a waiver, then you select yes. If you haven't, you select no, but then you have to, from my understanding, you have to get this waiver, or you have to go back to your country, serve 2 years and come back. Otherwise it would be a problem for you. Anyway, criminal acts and violations. So it says you must answer yes to any question that applies to you, even if your records were sealed or otherwise declared, or even if anyone, including a judge, law enforcement officer, or attorney, told you that you no longer have a record. You must also answer yes to the following questions: whether the action or offense occurred here in the United States or anywhere else in the world. So if you are involved in any of these problems, then you have to answer yes, even though you are cleared from that thing. And then if you answer yes, you have to explain in part 14, and you have to make, as I mentioned, you can copy this part 14 page as many as you want. So yeah, so for the sake of this demonstration, I am selecting no, because it didn't apply to, it doesn't apply to John Doe. So you just select no. If you this is the case, if you answer to item number 28 yes, did you know or should you have reasonably known that the financial or other benefit you obtained resulted from the activity of your spouse or parent? So since I answered no, I don't have to select anything here, I just leave it blank. This only applies if I select yes to number 28. Again, I select the applicable options, and again here, if your answer to item 35A yes, I select no, so it doesn't apply to me, I keep it blank. And then I select no, yeah, it doesn't apply to me, so I go this way. If you answer yes to number 39, again, if I select no, so I'd keep it blank. Yeah, and this is like option security related, whatever applies to you, you select accordingly. And if you select yes, explain to now part 14, I just select no for John Doe. None of these applies to him. Are you the spouse or child? No. If you apply, yes to part 46, you have to explain. And then have you, so no. You have to read out everything and make sure that if it applies to you, you have to select yes. You shouldn't hide anything here. Yeah, as it mentions, if any of these item 50 or 51 applies to you, explain in part 14. And then these are the options. I am selecting no because it doesn't applies to John Doe. Okay, public charge. So any employment based applicants falls under public charge, meaning if you are jobless or kind of bankrupt, then the government has to support you, meaning that public tax money has to come to support you. So that is the public charge in easy words. So employment based applicants falls under the public charge. So you have to select. So only these group categories of applicant doesn't fall under public charge. So you have to skip all of them and then you have to select this. I do not fall under any of the exempt categories listed above and will complete item 57 to 66. So you have to complete 57 to 66. So you say if you selected I do not fall under these exempt categories, item number 50, yeah, complete item 57 to 66. So if you need extra space to complete the section, use the space provided in part 14. Yeah. So what's the size of your household? So in the application we had a sense that me, like John Doe's spouse and 3 children. So the household size is 5. And then say the total household income is in between 85,000 to 141,000. The total value of the household assets. So assets meaning in the go to the instruction and read out there assets. Sorry. Yeah. So this is the item number 59 here. 59. So it says the assets from you must exclude any assets from illegal activities or source such as proceeds from illegal gambling or drug sales. You may not include assets that are not owned by the members of your household. So you only have to include assets that is legally acquired and owned by any of the family members. And assets include like bank deposits, annuities, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, certificate of deposits, retirement accounts, educational accounts, and real estate. So you have to calculate roughly, and then you have to choose the range where your assets fall. I'm selecting this one. Identify a total value of your household liabilities, meaning you are in debt to something. So again, this is 60. Any debt is like liabilities include but not limited to mortgages. You have to pay mortgages. You have bought a car on finance, so you have to pay the car loans, unpaid child or spouse support, unpaid taxes, current credit card balances. You have to sum all of them up, and then you have to select a range of liabilities that it is due on you. What is the highest degree or grade school you have completed? So in your cases, maybe you have advanced degree, either masters or professional or doctorate degree. Say you have a doctorate degree. For your spouse, you select accordingly. For your minor kids, many of them maybe in the middle school or even elementary school or at best high school, so you just select less than a high school diploma and then just write which grade they have actually completed. Say your child is in grade 8, so that child actually completed grade 7, so write 7th grade. Sorry, or something like that, but it is for you or your spouse, you select accordingly. And then this is the certification that actually asking for. So it says please list all your certification, licenses, skills obtained through work experience, educational certificates limited to work for skills training, licenses for specific occupations, certificate documenting mastery or apprenticeships in skilled trades or professions, foreign language skills as well. Okay, so maybe like in your case, you can say I have a PhD in say electrical engineering. Say you have an MS, you have a BS in electrical engineering, then you have European and North American driving license, driving license. Maybe you speak different languages, say language spoken, you speak French, you speak English, maybe you speak Spanish or something like that. So this part actually tries to get an idea what are your overall skills. So if you are given a citizenship or permanent residency, what skills you bring into the US. You can write other licenses or other like certifications you have. Okay, have you ever, so for your spouse is the same. For your kids, they may not have any school certificates, so they can mention that they get like highest honors in their class grades or something, the languages they speak, something like that. If they are learning martial art, they might have a yellow belt or orange belt, whatever, they can write it here. Have you ever received supplemental security income? So this is important. If you received any supplemental security income or temporary assistance, you have to select it. In most cases, it's no. If haven't received any assistance from any organization, and if you have received long-term institutionalization government expense, select accordingly. For John Doe, I'm selecting no, and since I selected no, I don't have to mention anything here. I just leave it blank. And then again, the violations for John Doe, you read it out carefully, and if you have any answered yes, you have to mention where, mention in part 14 why your answer is yes in any of this part. So I select no to everything for John Doe, doesn't apply to John Doe. Yes, no. I select no as well. If you answered yes to number 76, I selected no, so I doesn't need to explain anything in part 14. And here, like if you answered 1976 yes, I haven't answered yes, so I keep it blank. Then I select no because it doesn't apply to John Doe. Yeah. Same thing here, it doesn't apply to John Doe. You have to be careful, read it out and see if anything applies to you. Finally, you have to mention your phone number here. You are being the applicant, you mention your phone number, say 88 something, or like I would just your daytime phone number, say 78 I'm just making these numbers up. Maybe like you use the same phone, it's a mobile phone number, so you just copy and paste the same thing. You put an email address, say john.doe@gmail.com maybe, and now you have to sign here. This is the most important part of the application. If you don't sign, this application is invalid. You just sign here. So now, and you put date. So say who are, so in the instruction it says signature. So signature meaning the signature of parental. If the application is for like some minors, you must sign and date your application. If applicable, provide your date and telephone number, phone number, and email address. The signature of a parent or legal guardian, if applicable, is acceptable. Yeah. So if your child is another thing I just need to, yeah. So I'm coming back to here later. So if it is you or your spouse who are adult, they sign and put a signature here, the date here. Now, if uh, if it is this is the application of your child, then maybe like you sign, and then you write in the bracket parent. Otherwise, like only if they are less than 14 years old. Otherwise, for adults, the applicant must sign here. And now, if like anyone helped you in filling out this form, maybe like you don't understand, then the interpreter must fill out this part and sign. And most important thing is here. So you and your spouse may be adults, you filled out your forms by yourself, but since your childs are minor, they cannot fill out this form, you have to fill out this part, because you are the preparer of this of their application. So say John Doe actually filled out um, his child's application. So for John Doe's application, for the principal applicant John Doe, the it's blank, but say it's the application of John Doe's daughter, then John Doe has filled out this part, so it has to be John Doe needs to write everything about himself. Last name was Doe. This is only for like if it's an application of child. So I just make sure that if this is John Doe's child's application, so John Doe then explain like write up everything John, and because John Doe is a person just as a guardian, a parent preparing the form, and he doesn't like represent any business or like attorney's office. He just write not applicable. Yeah, it doesn't allow me to write a slash. Just write not applicable, then put a slash, and then you actually put everything like as if like John Doe's phone number and email address, and then John Doe signs here. John Doe signs here. The same signature. This signature was for your child's application, and then you have to. This signature was on behalf of John Doe's child. So that's why John Doe signs and writes parent. But here it is the preparer's signature. So John Doe doesn't write the parent part. You just sign it here. That's it, and then put the date here. That's it, and then this part of USCIS when you appear in the interview. Now, another most important thing that often people overlooks or missed, that is given in the instructions. So in this instruction it says if you need extra space to complete any item within this application, use the space provided in part 14 additional information. And the most important part is here, sign and date each page. Sign and date each page. So even though this form last page doesn't have any space specific for signature and date, the principal applicant or like the adult applicants must sign this part and date it. So you must sign and date. So you have to like sign here in the most, you just sign here, sign and put date. It's for all the extra part 14 pages. For all extra, for all part 14 pages. And if this form is for your child who are not signing, then you have to like sign as I mentioned earlier, and then you have to write parent in the bracket, and then you have to put date. You have to put the date. That's the way you have to make sure that all these extra pages are actually written by you or prepared by you. That's it. So I hope I haven't forgotten to mention anything important here. I hope this will help you in preparing your applications. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment. I am not a lawyer. I never recorded any video for YouTube before. Just I felt helpless when I was preparing this form. I have to ask around and grab information, so I thought this might be useful for those who are going to fill out this form by themselves. Anyway, so thank you.